Randy Fortes. I met him a while back at a event, and I just knew that this was going to be an amazing friendship, an amazing relationship, because this dude, we went to Home Depot together and had the most epic adventure that you could possibly have. Going to Home Depot, picking up cinder blocks, and just having a lot of fun. It was a blast, and he just shared his soul. We had this amazing energy together, and what he does is he just pumps people up. He speaks to children at schools and just allows them to be seen, felt, and heard. And it's one of the biggest and best gifts that we can give our future generations, is actually having them feel like there's someone that they can talk to and feel felt and feel heard. And he does that and so much more. And he allows people to be present, to be tapped in to their greatest possible self. So without further delay, let's bring Mr. Randy Fortes onto the marathon. Boom, baby, you're now live.
Yeah.
Becoming your greatest possible self.
Much love to you. Much love to you, Chris.
Thank you for coming on today, sharing your time, your wisdom, your great energy, and we're blessed to have you, man.
Oh, yeah. It's always a blessing to be on your show and just to be on your team. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just blessed for this opportunity to get straight to the heart. And, you know, I just love, I feel like when I just see you and when I just get to be with you, like that's just where I want to be, because you have such a big one. Like, how can I miss? You know, it's like, boom. You know? So, yeah, man. You got a lot of heart. And I just noticed that from when I first met you. And I'm glad that we are still connected, and we're here, man. Yeah. Let's get it.
It's just the beginning, baby. Just the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we're going to dive straight in, man. And the start that we do on these episodes is the theme of the day, and that is the mastermind. So, Randy, how has this principle, this concept of the mastermind showed up for you, and you in your relationships, you in your family, you in your career, the mastermind that you get to create with these other influential leaders that you surround, the mastermind that you get to create with these children whose lives you touch, teaching people how to be tapped in? How does the mastermind show up for you, man?
Yeah, the mastermind, I believe, is something that's always evolving. It's always like refining. You know, it takes many forms for me. I see it in the harshness of the lessons that I learn sometimes. And I also find it a lot in the grace that I get to discover if I just kind of wait it out.
Wow.
You know, so more specifically with my job and with the children, like there's a way that my inner child gets to heal so much. You know, I was you know, just really landing in this place of empathy with the students and really feeling it. And when I say land, I mean feeling it. And like the part of the mastermind for me in that is, how might I access that in a more, in a firmer way, where when I deliver it to them, I can get there faster and they can really feel its authenticity. Because I'm, you know, it's not like, you know, I always have to bring it to the room, but I know that it's there. But the fact that I can exemplify empathy as a man of color, and as you know, like that's part of my technique, is heart and hand, you know, straight to the heart. And so the mastermind is allowing me to do that better in the world of children. And as a father in my relationships, you know, I learned so much from my daughter. You know, she is my mirror, and you know, she gives me those harsh lessons sometimes, and it looks in the form of maybe her attitude or maybe her just choices at the time. You know, she's 8 years old. She's still, you know, kind of compulsive and impulsive in some ways. They're still learning that at that age. And how do I be with that? You know, how do I really hold grace for her when she doesn't have it in those moments? And the mastermind to me is allowing me to better translate what's always being communicated, because everything speaks. So something's always happening. And if we're caught up in our own story, whatever's going on, we might miss the message, you know? It's as if like the wind is always whispering, and I'm always staying tuned into it, because that is the voice of the mastermind.
Deal. I love it. This is good. So we are already going deep, and everyone listening, if you got any questions, if you want to go deeper into being straight to the heart, in being present, in being in this mastermind, or any other questions you got coming up for Randy, I'm going to be asking multiple times throughout this, because he loves interacting and engaging and going deep with everyone who is present with us right here, right now. So any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And Randy, for everyone who doesn't yet know who you are, why don't you share what you're up to, what you're creating, and what you do, man?
I've been an educator since I was 19, and it just really helped me to relearn so many things that I didn't really, get the first time. Caught up in my teenage years and everything that I was going through, and I really feel like I got to discover who I was and what I was really about. It gave me a space for my heart, and it was with children, and a part of my own inner child needed to heal. And, so I started teaching dance to children. I was in a music group and it was just amazing, just becoming more of myself. And I feel like a really big pinnacle part happened 12 years ago when I became a facilitator for Challenge Day. And that gave me an opportunity to travel over 40 states and all over Canada and be with middle school and high school students, So I started, I was teaching preschool too. I was teaching elementary school. So that part of myself got to really heal and learn and educate, like I was learning as I was teaching, I feel like that's the best learning oftentimes. I'm always a student, as we always will be. Then I got to really deal with part of my teenage years and my older adolescence parts, like as I got to face that. And I'm still with that to this day. I feel like, if the Mastermind is, giving me opportunities in certain areas, if I'm listening close enough, there's a lesson there for me. I'm not always aware to it. And it's just a matter of trusting in that part. So I've been facilitating, and currently I work for Soul Shop, and it's in Oakland. And we go to different schools, elementary schools and middle schools around the Bay Area and abroad. And we do social emotional workshops. And, that's the technical way to put it. But if you were just really concerned, and I'm not concerned, but really interested and curious of what it is, it's just like you were saying, we give children an opportunity to just be themselves. And give them permission and space to just feel what's really there, because we're always feeling, but we're not often showing. And that is due to the limited space that's provided for us to do so. So Soul Shop to me is very sacred. I mean, any work and any interaction I do is sacred, but it was designed to actually create this sacred space for anyone to really do it. Because we have parent nights, and I speak to teachers. And so I also created this program called Tapped In about 5 years ago. And that's my own program. And and that was through the discovery of how it's all about reconnection. It's all about connection in itself. And it's all about restoring that connection. Oftentimes our issues and conflicts aren't so much the issue and conflict. It's really the relationship we have with that issue and conflict, right? And like bridging that and finding our way closer and deepening that relationship to that in itself. This is, I can't imagine that not being a beneficial thing. And how might that not lead to healing? Because healing means to make whole. So it's about maybe embracing these parts of ourselves that we would normally hide or run from. So we become free to just be us. And Tapped In is really just about looking at what is there for you. Because it might not be that. It could be a dream. It could be this. It could be a wall in between you and this dream and this journey that you want to take. So if we get closer to this wall, maybe we can further examine it. Like, oh, well, there's a ladder. Did you see that? Or we can go under, But from a distance, if one stays so far from it and disconnected, it's really hard to kind of move on or move through something that we yet to have even a secure relationship with or have no communication with.
Right.
So, Tapped In it's a culture. It's a culture of connection, because I feel as if we all have these kind of plugs and accesses to get to these places. Yet maybe we've yet to discover the path. So with Tapped In, and as the founder of that, and as one who has done that for, I can't count how many people. And through that, I've also found my way, because I feel like we're all in this search and discovery of who we are. Yes. I'm willing to offer that to people through means of a workshop, through means of a program, so with that said, I don't know if you're going to post this or if you have this already, Chris, but I wanted to offer a 30-minute session, free 30-minute session. We talked about 5. Yep. To the first 5 people to respond to an email to me at fortes.randy@yahoo.com. It's fortes.randy@yahoo.com. So 5 free
I think I don't think Randy has done himself justice. Let me just post this up real quick. First 5. Seriously, if there is any experience at all of you feeling disconnected, unhappy, unfulfilled, feeling like you're going in circles, unseen, unfelt. If there is any of that level, and you've been looking for someone, you've been looking for answers, you've been banging on this wall, you've been trying to figure this out, you feel like you've been on a hamster wheel, you feel exhausted, tired, anything like that, talk to this man.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. And like the space that you provide and like the compassion and the grace that he holds for people is just out of this world. Understanding and empathy.
Yeah, what I'm really inviting and encouraging people to do is just be with me. Just be with me in a way where you can just be yourself. And sometimes that's all it takes. And you know, oftentimes, sometimes it's about, firing people up. Sometimes they're just so ready and they're just there. And I love that. That's kind of like your element. That's why I feel like our energy just meshes and like we can just laugh and cry for days because we can just be ourselves and be like, fired up and like, iron sharpens iron. There's a way that we continue to grow with each other. And, that's how the gemstone ges polished when it goes through the tumbling, process with all these other rocks and it gets to kind of mesh up against them. And, some of that is kind of, I guess some of that might hurt and some of that might be chipping away some of these pieces. And, we go through this process of rubbing up against each other the wrong way. Maybe that's what the relationship is. That's how it grows, and that's how we shine, so we can't, and I say that to, oftentimes that's the place that needs to be tapped into is the very place, is the last place you actually would want to go. Like I might tell you the last thing that you might want to hear, but that could very well be the perfect thing that you actually need to really be looking at, within this darkness. I'm willing to shine a light and help people find a path. So that's just, that's tapped in essence. And I'm excited to just offer this, and also just I'm noticing just putting myself out there is a risk, and it's a beautiful one. And I'm willing to take that, because if I'm not willing to take it, who am I to invite anyone else to do so? And that's how we go straight to the heart, is through just being heart. Right? I'd rather you feel more than you hear what I say, because that's really what's going to impact. So just be with me.
I love it, man. Let's start diving in a little bit more to straight to the heart.
Yes.
Essence and what that means to you, how you've, up until this point moved through, evolved through, journeyed through your life to create a relationship with that phrase, straight to the heart, and what that means.
Yeah, what that means to me is it's an awareness and a presence to the now of how you feel. So with that said, and with what is currently happening, and I even feel your energy in that when you're like opening up this invitation for children and just the way you were talking about them, how there was a walkout. And though that is the work that I do, and though that is where my heart is at, in my empathy and compassion for the young ones, I want to apologize. I want to apologize for all the ways in which I've allowed you to be invisible and I haven't seen you. I want to apologize for the ways in which I doubted myself, which allowed you not to get a chance to talk, maybe in a workshop that I was in, because I was in my own head. I want to say sorry to all the little ones in the room who remind me of my little one. That scares me. And I'm still working through that so I can find my way back to myself, so I can find my way closer to you. And this is the work that I do. And you're worth it. I was in tears yesterday at a workshop with a 3rd grade class, and a little girl looked up at me and she said, "Why are you crying, Randy?" And I looked at her and I said, "Because I care about you that much." And perhaps she was asking that because it's rare that people care for her that much. Maybe people aren't really crying and showing that much affection. So I want to apologize to the children for my inability to allow them to get closer to their own emotions so they can read them clearer on other people.
I wonder if
That's straight to the heart.
I wonder if there's an opportunity for us all to apologize. You know, it's like you recognize this opportunity for growth for yourself and the ability to go straight to the heart for yourself. Now, everyone who's listening, you know, what's the apology that we can all step up and make to ourselves with compassion and empathy, grace, and courage about who we've been?
Yeah, I feel like it's a time for forgiveness in a sense. You know, it's a time for healing in a sense, and I feel forgiveness is right in that vein. And the youth are speaking to that. There's a way in which the energy I'm feeling in this walkout and the way the youth energy is kind of rising up. You know, like there's a lot within that statement, but for me, it's just like they're ready, and like they're sick and tired of it too. You know, like there's that energy too, and there's just like really beautiful energy of like just trusting. Like you know what I'm saying? They're trusting that like, no, we can do something about this, or it wouldn't be happening. Right. And that's straight to the heart. You know, like the way that impacts people of how, wow, that's so kind of that's so radical, right? And oftentimes I feel like that's you know, the stigma and all those things that go around this work actually kind of make it a little more difficult. But that's part of the adventure. You know, I look at these things and I understand them, and it allows me to have compassion for anyone's resistance, because it's like because I'm aware that there's something behind or underneath that, and I don't really have to take this personal so much or be triggered by maybe, you know, this place within you that you're still learning about, you know, and it's a tender place. So, you know, the youth in this tender place are standing firm. Wow. Right?
Yeah. Would you say that, you know, how, like bringing this lesson, this wisdom, this energy, you know, how do we bring this inspiration, this tenderness, this courage into our own lives? How do we really learn? How do we receive the wisdom from what's going on, quote unquote, out there in our own backyard, and integrate it into our own lives?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it's a matter of perspective. You know, like oftentimes you just shift the lens and, you know, everything in the background just becomes visible now because it was just out of focus. Maybe we're just kind of focusing on maybe what's in front of us, you know, and you know, the wisdom I feel would come from, you know, this awareness of like all that's there, you know, of like, oh, like seeing like in the nooks and crannies of the situations, and it comes from a deeper understanding of something. You know, so I would imagine like if one's desire is to learn about something, then you got to go in there. You know, if you want to learn about how to get out of this state that you might feel stuck in, or this cycle that we might feel stuck in, it's about looking at where did it start? How far does it go back? You know, when did it shift? You know, looking at the trail of it, looking at the pattern that is going. If you want to break the pattern, then you got to know the pattern. Right? You want to put together the puzzle. It's much easier if you have the box and you can see the picture first, right? And rather than just having all these pieces, right? Because then if you look at it, it's crazy. Like they're just divided on a table, and it's just like you can't really make it out, right? But then you see the picture, like, oh, okay. Then you have a point of reference. It's like I feel like we need more of that to really just kind of be bookmarking where these things are happening and charting it maybe for ourselves, and just deeper understanding of what it is, and through that, like whatever that is, like this, it's all about discovery. So
yeah, how do we take the events and circumstances and things that we've noticed and turn it into a pattern that we can actually do something with?
Nice. Okay, so the pattern, let's take the format of tapped in, which is 3 steps: awaken, expand, impact. All right, so you take an experience, and you awaken to it. Like, oh wow, like what did I learn from this? Where's the gold in here? What's something that I can take with me that will last forever? You know, what was the cost of this? What did I sacrifice maybe to learn this lesson? You know, and everything in between that, you know, just really discovering what that is, and then expand, looking at like, okay, so now what can I do with this? You know, now I have this gold, and now I have this lesson. You know, like it's great you get a lesson, but it's like, what are you going to do with it? It's in the application, right? So it's like, and really looking at like, okay, so what are my options? I can go over here. Okay, well, this will be a little more efficient or faster, and you know, just looking at these routes in which way, or maybe who might you want to collaborate with in order to make that happen at an accelerated rate. And then the impact part would be the application. And the impact part is where you're really taking it in and really feeling it, because now you want to be it, right? That's the being part, right? Because it's not what you say, it's how you be, right? So much. Yeah, that's the impact part, like really impacted by how people are being with this. Because I can be very, let's see, I could just be like really aggressive with you and be saying some really nice words, and it just wouldn't match, right? It's, you know, like, or I can just be really gentle with you and just be really slow in how I'm saying things, so they really land. It's how I'm being with you. It's how I'm, you know, the energy that I'm holding with you, you know? So like becoming that energy that you want to become to get what you need to get, and you know, focusing it towards whatever energy you're being drawn and called to. So awaken, expand, impact. So that would be a formula I would say that has definitely worked for me, and I've coined the phrase. You know, that's I figure I simplify it for people in a sense. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Awaken, expand, impact. So awaken, what I heard is that awaken is become aware of the pattern, so to speak, the thing, the event. Awaken, become aware. Right? It's like the big part is awareness to what isn't working, what doesn't suit us, what we're not happy about in our life. So that takes looking back, it takes reflecting, it takes pausing, presencing. Awaken, expand. So what is the lesson that I can get from this? What's the gift? What is the message? What's the
mastermind saying? Yeah.
What's the mastermind saying? What's really behind this? Why is this happening? Questioning, going deeper, right? Expand, go deep. Like, is this something that shows up other places in my life? What's
options? Yeah.
Yes.
Choices.
Yes. And then the last part is going to be the impact. And so how do I actually do something with this? How do I utilize this information? How do I shift my choices and my being to actually produce the results that I want to become the version of myself, or the best, greatest possible self that I can be? And what actions would I take? What does that look like? How do I get there?
That's it. That's it. And the beautiful part about impact is that, like, it's almost like it's or for me at least, I've realized that like I'm already there sometimes, and I almost have to like do it again to like, oh yeah, I already did that. Right, because I'm just like because I've applied it to everything now, so it's almost like these shifts are happening all the time, and they're subtle, and there's some of them are drastic, some of them are subtle, but the subtle ones I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't do what I used to do, right? Do you ever catch yourself in those own patterns, right? Where like you see, because you and that's how you know the impact happened, because you are already being something different, and you wouldn't notice that you are different if you weren't looking at it from a different angle, you know, holding it differently, you know, treating it differently. So I feel like that's getting like, you know, straight to the heart in that sense. That formula is getting straight to the heart of the matter. If you look at it, because within our conflicts and issues or whatever it is that we're facing, you know, our edge, so to speak, are a lot of stories, a lot of events, and a lot of messages and beliefs, limited and unlimited in the sense, you know, like there's a lot of surrounding that. So, you know, there's a beautiful part about the formula in itself too, is because it kind of like, you know, you can kind of take yourself out of the story. You know, because it actually doesn't fit in this expansion, right? The expansion actually is breaking through the story. If you look at it, right? That's the idea of it. It's about zooming out and widening the perspective to see far beyond the story. To actually so far that eventually maybe you blank the slate and grab a new pen and start over, right? Maybe that's what expansion looks like for some people. Right, that's a full expansion in a sense, you know. Like possibly, you know, like maybe, you know, I've known people who, because of an addiction or an event had happened, they lost everything. They had to start all over, right? So their expansion looked completely different. But their impact now, right, because of that process is one that's straight to the heart.
Man, it's gold.
It's going, baby. It's going.
Gold, baby. This is gold. So straight to the heart. What does it mean to be? What does it mean to be a human being? That's when I think of straight to the heart. I think of like, what does it mean to be a human being? What is the process? What is the journey? What is the experience?
What is the process? What is the experience? Straight to the heart, huh?
Yeah. That's like straight to the heart is what is the essence of being a human, right? And we could be caught in this inhuman, robotic kind of hamster wheel of life, and not really being aware. But that first step is awaken, is awareness. Like stopping the cycle, an expansion, zooming out, seeing those choices. And then impact, right? And that's like a constant process. Tapped in, that process is being a human being, rather than a human doing, rather than a robot, rather than
okay. So it's almost like, are we humans being, or are we just being human? Right? Because like in the sense of like being human, like there's almost like a manual for it. Like your default answer is fine when you're asked how you feel. Or just kind of these. I guess I feel like, because I can laugh at these things and be kind of sarcastic with them, it's because I now approach them and hold them through a door of humility, and the thing we are most ashamed of is our humility, our inadequacies, the fact that we are imperfect, the fact that we, will make a mistake, the fact that we aren't as great as we want to, or have these, tendencies to set too high of goals, and just these things that we kind of self-sabotaging things that are just human. And so it's not so much these things that just happen to humans. It's like, how are you going to be with those things when they come up? Right? Because like it's really easy to be with the joy and to show someone how excited you are. But can I talk about the times when I'm really scared? Or when I'm like feeling super lonely? Or am I trapped in that to where I'm just continuing to feed that a cycle for myself, right? Am I just being human to that? Right? That's what humans do. And we just kind of like, I guess, submitting to the story. Right? Like, and we kind of let ourselves off the hook, or is that how you really want to be? Is the next question. Right? So the real question is, how do you really want to be in this world? Yeah.
And that's a choice. That's a deliberate choice versus like the auto, even joy, like full joy, full experience of joy is a choice in the moment of joy to like allow that to be everything versus, I'm happy. Let's move on. Next thing, next goal, next objective. Yeah.
That's interesting because that's actually a technique I'm using with my daughter. She's at this place. She's at this place where, if nothing's happening, or if like maybe like we're just driving or just something's happening, like nothing's happening for her, I guess, just for her. She'll say, I'm bored, and she'll say it in the 8th grade little girl voice. If you know what that sounds like, it's just I'm bored. It's like this kind of the little attitude behind it too, as if I'm supposed to do something and always entertain her. Right. So my response to her is I say, being bored is a choice. Are there any other choices?
Wow.
Right. And then I explore with her what else she could probably do. Are there any gate? And and she's and if she responds with again like no, or I'm noticing that being human still in her tone, then I'll again invite her to be a human being. Right? How do you want to be? So that's the question again. It's like, so then I maybe have to give her options. Do you want to? Could you play a game? Is that a choice? Are there any songs that you can sing by choice? Is there any dances you can do at this moment by choice? Is there anyone you can talk to at this moment by choice? Look around. What are your options? I'm helping my daughter to awaken and then expand her horizons on other choices. And then the impact happens by her choice. See, that's how I want to empower her, is by her stepping into the impact, because I can certainly, just like, I choose for her. No, you're going to do that and just be, reinforce my fatherly human being, dominant, self of looking at how we normally do things. Or I can really just allow my daughter to just be her all the time and not get in her way. Because that's I would imagine that's what a father who really loves his daughter, who wants her to thrive, might do. That's just my vision of it. People might have different visions, but that's definitely working for me. And I say that because it's a work in progress. It's not how I was taught. It's not what's in my bones. So I am a student of my own formula and of my own doing. And I'm so grateful for my daughter to allow me these opportunities to be a student and teacher with her. So yeah, definitely. So it's a choice.
So I'm curious about this because I was thinking in my mind, like, hey, did Randy teach his daughter taptic formula? Like awaken, expand, impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No,
So
okay, go ahead.
what I thought is, that's like one side of the spectrum, and it could be from either a resistance or a fear of being, controlling, or this kind of like parental, fatherly. No, I don't want to be that. I'm going to be the empowerer of choice. I was curious. Something just popped up. Could there be a fear or something that you're afraid of giving too much? Is there a too much, too far on the other side of the spectrum? Too much choice.
Oh, yeah.
Too much.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, so what I trust in to not have that happen, and my preventative methods behind not running into that are something I called, I learned it, it's called developmentally appropriate practices. And I learned it in early childhood development. And what that speaks to is that at a certain age, children have reached a certain level of development and have a certain capacity for things. Therefore, as parents, our expectations might better suit them in alignment with those. So if you're not, right? So if I'm, expecting her to put together, something far advanced, then she can't, and I have the expectation too high, then I'm setting her up to fail. If I'm giving her too much choice and I'm handing her too much freedom, I'm only going to give her enough freedom that she can handle. And oftentimes she's teaching me how much freedom she can handle by her mistakes. Oh, that was too advanced, so you don't want to give them too much, but you don't want to give them too little. And it's a tricky dance and it's a tricky game. But once again, my awareness and focus on where she's at, how is she being? Remember, I haven't seen my daughter in almost a week. I won't see her until Friday, So when I see her, those first moments, the first hour, I'm catching up to her. And I know that. And I also know that she's adjusting, right? Because she calls me mommy. Right, because she's right in her mind. She's been with mommy. The program's still on. She hasn't shifted over yet. Right, so I'm like, oh, so I make space for this transition to happen. Because if I can't allow her. She doesn't have the capacity to make space for herself for that to happen. She's just in it. Right. So it's how I be with her in that, and my understanding of that. Oh, okay, I get it. That this is, again, it's hard for you because you've been doing it one way for the whole week. Right. And it's been programmed that way, and we got to kind of shift it over. So, once again, there's this place of grace in which I can hold for her that she's yet to have the capacity for. Right. And she's letting me know how much she can have by her struggles. Right. Everything and I feel like people are always doing that. Right. That's the sign. That's what they're communicating with a conflict or with overwhelm. It's wow, they've reached their capacity. Right. We've hit the line. They're at their edge. So it's how do we be with people at these points, right? Especially when they're pushing us away now, or they're withdrawing, or they're, they're, kind of becoming invisible, or, you just kind of notice the subtleties. A lot happens in the nuances and subtleties of things. And if you're close enough to what it is, you're able to read it.
Do you think that there's anything, any kind of perspective that you've had or accumulated, story, life experiences that don't allow you to see your daughter when those nuances are going on? Is there anything that you have to be more hyper vigilant of or be aware of about your conditioning or programming that you became aware of or are becoming aware of?
Yeah. Oh, that's happening all the time. I feel like that's part of the refinement process. Something specific would be around, this isn't so much my kind of childhood thing, but, it's kind of around the relationship with her mom, You know, I don't want to go too deep into this, obviously, but you know, there are ways in which I was activated and stimulated, triggered by her, you know, and because, you know, the fallout of the relationship, and you know, when my daughter starts to develop some of these tendencies and responds to me in these ways, I noticed this piece of me come up, so, right, like once again, it like kicks me in the same spot, right, like right in the gut, like you know, and this is kind of that sensation surely comes up, and you know, and I haven't been, you know, in the past, I might have not been so graceful with that, with her, right? But my discovery in that, like, oh, wow, that's me. And like this, that, you know, that's her. That's part of her. She's learning from her mom. She gets that from her mom, but it's like, you know, so I just, how do I notice that's what's happening for her, and not allow that spot to be accessible, to be kicked anymore, because I've sealed that. Right. Like I think I mentioned that about blind spots, right? How the beauty and the value of blind spots is that they're always showing us where to look. Like that's the communication of them. So therefore, when it comes up to it, when we run into one, especially if it, you know, bites us in the butt and there's maybe injuries or sacrifice because of them, then we never want that to happen again. Therefore, we kind of like, you know, we want to create preventative methods, or we know which way not to go, or we make better choices. You know, we deal with it better when it comes up, because now we develop resiliency and a plan, because we know that might happen, right? So we don't get blindsided anymore. So it's about there's value in these places that come up, and it's really how you be with them that will allow you to really get their word, right? Because it's a huge lesson right there. It's all a lesson, you know. So when you're tapped in,
when you're tapped in. If not, then it's just a cycle, right? It's just another round of the cycle, just another round of the pain, another round of the numbness.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to share something to kind of switch up the rhythm. So let me just share this. This is a poem. It just came to me to share this. I don't believe I've shared this one yet on the show, and it's called "These Days." And I wrote this one probably like 2000, what was it, like 20 something, probably when I wrote it, 2002, 2003. So it was a long time ago when I wrote this. And why I want to share this, because a lot of what I'm sharing about these days when I wrote it back then is so applicable now, in a sense. So it's like a timeless kind of piece that it's like a mantra that I remember these things. So, and you know, a lot of my poetry just comes from lessons and inspiration. So these days. These days, I've seen judgment pass like the common cold, which forces children into adulthood at 12 years old. I've watched the TV from behind so it won't dull or taint my mind, which reminds the eye to find the truth which I behold. But who's remotely in control? No longer the beholder, because forces grew stronger upon our shoulders. Nowhere is free space, only facing getting older these days. Can't wait to get darker. Covered light by night stalkers, hoping to blind and fold me, even you, if they caught you. So I walk the path less traveled, where none guess or babble, for they know that at the end will depend upon their intentions of now. How these days might be the last, because mistakes from the past, way back in the day, were packed away and not surpassed. These days we are three-faced, two placed towards life and death, smelling the scorched breath of what's left of the other, with his cheek turned away from the sun because the heat burned its tongue that now can't speak but can only hum old songs of freedom. Lost for words, people only heard the tone that goes on and on, so they leave it alone. These days I feel alone, amongst the crowd, amongst the streets, filled with my people. Is it my people these days? Or are my people in the days, trapped in an endless maze, stepping on each other to reach yet another dead end? They want to climb out, but these days it's hard to stand. But these days are at hand. Could only 7 make us weak? For once the months and tears from years are gone, we still won't be complete. Hours spent, but in given time, we will see the bars to break, knowing our mistakes, for these days are ours to make.
Damn. Straight to the heart, baby.
Straight to the heart, baby.
These days. Baby.
These days. Yeah.
This moment is everything, dude.
Yeah.
This moment is everything.
It's all we have, Chris. All we have is now. Yeah. So let's cherish it. Let's find out how sacred and how much we can make this mean right now. because we just lost that one. No, we have this one, right?
How do we 10x deeper our presence, our joy, our expansion, our impact, our awakening?
It is who you are. I imagine that for people already. Like I'm going to imagine that when I meet someone, you are already a great, outstanding, extraordinary, unique, special, sacred being. And I will refuse to treat you otherwise. Right? So for me, like the connection might come from the awareness of that it's there, and the acceptance that it's like, I am these things. Because you are already. And we are also flawed and imperfect. And and unforgiving, and we're allowed it. How can you just be these things? Right? It's these places that we can't accept that are holding us back the most. Right? Those are the stumbling blocks, right? That have yet to become stepping stones, because we haven't stand upon them yet. They're still upon us. Right? It's about that positioning of like, oh, we haven't gotten over that, and until we actually learn the lesson. I feel as if the world, the divine and the universe will continue to give us the lesson to learn, right? Until we actually get it. And that's the goal. So, are there any comments? Anyone joining us here? Where we at, Chris?
We had Jim say, "My brother." George say, "What's up, Chris?" Anybody have any comments on that awesome rendition of These Days? We'd love to hear it. You got any questions for Randy? He is here to answer them.
That's what's up.
Yeah, man. I would say, what answer do you wish people would ask you? What question do you wish people would ask you?
Wow. What answer? I like that. What question? Let's see. Wow. I wasn't ready for that one. No. You got me. No, dude, so, okay, I'll just go with my impulse. You know what? The question that I would love for people to ask me, honestly, is how am I doing? And that is not to say I need attention and, people don't check in with me enough. It's just coming from the place of, I'll get to share who I am. This is another opportunity to go straight to my heart, which hopefully will go straight to yours. Like, give me a door, and I also say that in a way of like, I would love for more people to check in with me and get to know who I am and be really honestly curious as to how I'm doing, and speaking to like how I'm feeling. Like I feel like I meet a lot of people at these events, and it's about, what do you do? And what are you about? What services do you offer? How this is what the service I offer. Oftentimes the conversation that's being had at that time is looking for a doorway to get in to them. You know what I mean? When I would prefer to just, let's hold the door open for each other and see who's willing to go first, right? Or let's go through together. Right?
So this how are you doing question, because one of, like, you could ask, what do you do? That's like level one. You could ask, who are you? Yeah. Which is another kind of like deeper level. Like, Randy, like, I meet you for the first time. Who are you?
That's what that takes me back to. I love that. There was this exercise we did in this counseling course that I had where you had to actually do that for 5 minutes. Right. The one person was the question asker, the other person was like just going to answer. And like you say, who are you? And then you say, oh, well, I'm Randy Fortes. And you'll start at the surface, and eventually, like, who are you? You keep asking, and eventually you get down to that place. And because I was aware of that, I'm like, at first I would just go there and I'd straight to the heart, right? Then I'm just going deeper and deeper into the heart. That's just how I operate, and I'm heart and hand, So I feel like that's like an introductory question, how are you? It's kind of general. I get the surface of it. But to me, it's like, if you're just asking me that and you don't know me, and I saw inside of your eyes, that's the difference for me. I feel like you can ask someone just that question, and I'll look in your eyes to see how curious are you. What are you really? So I'm looking at, what are you really asking already? right? I'm not just thinking, oh, you're asking the surface question, so let me give you the surface answer. Oh, I'm fine. Or I'm a little under the weather. Or, just something that's kind of like matching to the energy I'm feeling, So, so for me, it's like that's my doorway to connect with them, really see, like, how curious are they? And how curious are they? And then it gives me an opportunity to maybe really ask them, and then maybe look in their eyes even deeper. No, and maybe even frame it like, yeah, I just shared, thank you for asking. I love sharing how I am honestly with people. Now I'm curious, how are you? Right? And just how I ask it, the fact that I'm leaning in, because I'm really curious. How are you? Who are you for real? That's tapped in a sense. For me, like tapped in can take these kind of like normal statements and be with them in a way that works towards this deeper connection. Right? There's no door I can't go through. Right? It can go everywhere. So
what I hear is, and what I feel is, it's the intention. It's the intention behind the words. And it's not a rush to get somewhere, right? But it's a, how are you, Randy?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I had it's an interesting day today. No, it really was. I was like, I shed a lot of tears today. We had a staff meeting, and the work that we do, we get real, and we stand by that. We live that, and a lot of processing going on. So I'm kind of in the midst of that still. So processing the process, and I'm doing my best to be with that, be with you, be with everyone here. But I want to thank you, because your question just reminded me to just be with myself. So I'm feeling pretty solid at this moment, if you're honestly curious as to how I am. Yeah. And I want to be firm in that, in my delivery, because I can say that without a wink, because that's where I'm at right now. How are you doing, man?
Pretty tired. Yeah, man. Life is rough. Life is rough, and it takes a lot to keep being a force of good in the world, and a fire that burns and inspires people and ignites people's possibility.
Are you finding something in particular a challenge to stay good? Like, it appears that, like, what I love is that you found it, but like keeping it, sustenance, longevity. Like, what have you found maybe that might be a factor in the way?
Impatience. The expectation that the harvest should have come. That's literally it.
Yeah. So it's as if you kind of marked your calendar and said, on this day we will have this harvest.
5 years ago.
Yeah, right. And you planted the seed, right? The seed was planted, and you made a deal with the sun and the rain. And you're like, okay, 5 years, this harvest, this day. As if you really had that much control, right? I mean, I wish. I mean, that would be superhuman. However, as a human being, and you get to just be with that. What if this was just a reminder and a message for you to just trust the process, and to allow the places that you don't control to give you moments to regain control over what you do have control over. Right? Just kind of just being with what it leaves you with. Like, wow, I'm left with maybe this disappointment, maybe whatever it is. You just get to be with that and not control it so much, but you just get to hold it. And perhaps what that might look like is mourning the expectation. And then forgiving yourself for being human. And what I'm sharing with you might not so much change who you are. I hope it does. But my real hope is that it changes how you get to be with this. And that you eventually get to be free of this. Because you're so busy doing other greater things.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. I completely have so much compassion and can totally relate to that very thing. That's such a humanistic thing. And, I'm really getting like through my interaction and experiences with so many different human beings, right? And being so many different ways and all these cultures in which I got to visit and got to be with, there's we all have this kind of same human traits, right? They're just kind of common. They run a thread through all of our lives, and it looks different, and there's subtleties and different qualities. It tastes different a little bit, but it's the same fear. Yeah. It's the same insecurity. It's the same hurt, in a sense. It's the same feeling, but maybe to a different degree. It's the same wound, but maybe to a different level of infection or neglect that's allowing the wound to continue and not be healed. Right? And I get to study the human traits of how they're dealing with these things and how that's working for them. And being with them to help them guide them through a closer path to healing that might happen, right? And whatever. And I love the fact that I had kind of limited time, right? I had only a day or only 6 hours maybe, to do a workshop with them. It's I had to really accelerate my message to just go straight to the heart, because I don't have time to really play mind games with you. We do that enough. The sooner I can get you into your heart, the fact that the further down the road we can go, right? Let's stop going in circles and just burning out our treads and tires and wasting gas and energy. Let's set a course. You know what I mean? And that really can't happen until we get to the heart of the matter. And maybe just stop. Because what that requires maybe is just a complete halt, or a complete change of direction, or a complete, you have sails, put up the sails. Why are you, what I'm saying? Why are you wasting your gas, bro? So, you know what I mean? It's just a different means, to discover what might be more efficient towards what we desire. So yeah, it's just, I'm just just loving humanity. There's so much to learn in it. I will never fully understand it. That's like being perfect. Right? We will never be like Bruce Lee. He knew he would never be perfect, but boy, did he strive to have technique that was impeccable, that could respond in split seconds to anything thrown at it, because it was so adaptable. It had so many tools. It could go so many directions. You know what I mean? That's where I want my diligence and training to be with the work that I'm doing and healing people and being with them, and in my drive too. So that's it. Where's my water? I knocked it over. There we go. There you go. Where that? I'm having fun, man. I'm having fun.
Randy, we're going deep, man. Thank you for allowing me to share that. That was beautiful. It was beautiful, and what a magical way to get there, man. This is
Yeah, no. What I love about it is that anyone who is still curious as to so what does he mean by tapped in? How does this really work? I'm this is a perfect moment, right? Let's tap you in. Yeah. And I was able to, and I had to really tap myself in to get to be with you in that space. So it's it's that. It's the sacredness. You're so important to me, Chris. So yeah.
I love you, brother.
Yeah, I love you too, man. So much love.
Bless this freaking 12-hour marathon, man. I love this thing. I love it.
Yeah.
What an experience. Oh my gosh. So, Randy, dude, we're wrapping up here. How do people stay connected with you? What do you want them to do next?
Send me an email. Like I said, there will be 5 free 30-minute sessions of tapped in love and attention coming at you at fortes.randy@yahoo.com. And check out Tapped In on Facebook. Check out some videos I got on YouTube. Also, what I would love people to take home with them is the next time you have an interaction with a child, just notice the opportunities in ways in which you can have a higher honor for their being. And if that can be achieved, is there a way you can be with them in that way? So the quality of the experience they have with you is one maybe that is opposite of them thinking they need to walk out on something and have a walkout, right? And to where they feel as if, oh, we need to do this for ourselves. I just mean it in a way where they feel taken care of and they feel seen. You know, all these things that led to this walkout. Let's see if we can fulfill just that piece for ourselves today. Yeah,
Randy, we love you, man. Thank you so much for coming on,
Blessings.
Sharing your gifts, being the light that you are. Keep it up. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
All right,
okay?
man. Have a great rest of the evening, man. Thank you.